So I'm in the vet right now because I had to bring my cat in here because he has some issues and we're hoping to get him worked out. But while I was in the vet, I thought I would tell you about the crazy story about the family who brought their kid to the vet to get treatment and how the vet reacted and the doctor when they walked in. This is the story. Mr. Jones was the man who I met in prison who had sent his son to the vet. Well, when he sent his son to the vet, what nobody knows it was that his son actually requested to be taken to the vet. Well, Mr. Jones had raised his son sort of like a dog, sort of like an animal, because he wanted his son to know how to survive them streets. So when Mr. Jones gets to the vet, they're like, yes, Mr. Jones, you set an appointment. Like, yeah, I set an appointment. You know, he's one of them rough dudes. You know, he said, I set an appointment. I'll bring my son to the vet. And he gets to the vet and they said, your son is your son. So what kind of breed is your son? He said, oh, he black. And the people said, what? Black? He said, yeah, he black. They said, a pit bull, a black Labrador? He said, no, he's my son, my real son. He's human. And his son was standing right there looking up at him. And they said, son, Mr. Jones, this is a hospital. I mean, this is a veterinarian. You need to bring your son to the hospital. Do you take any medications for mental issues? And Mr. Jones was like, no, I don't take no medications, man. I just know my son, and my son needs to be seen by a doctor who's in the veterinarian because my son is like a dog. And this is before people were able to act like whatever they want. This had happened in the late 80s, early 90s, because I was in prison with Mr. Jones in the 90s. So what happens is he says, this my son, I want the veterinarian to see him. And they say, okay, you will have a seat. Well, they call the police on him. The police get there and child services gets called in. Child services gets there. They take Mr. Jones' son and they charge Mr. Jones with endangering a child or, childhood abuse. And he winds up going to jail. Now, this ain't the only charge that Mr. Jones got. Mr. Jones had a bunch of charges. He had crack charges. He was selling crack. Like I said, he come up in the hood, and he was teaching his son how to be the baddest dude in the hood. And so he had taught his son how to be like a dog, how to be like a savage, how to be wild, right? So when he gets up the road to prison, you would think that people would be all over Mr. Jones and Mr. Jones would have a bad rap and dudes would be offended by Mr. Jones and be like, man, you don't disrespect your own child, man. We love our kids. But instead, the whole hood knew Mr. Jones, and his son was what you might call a legend, a real savage. That's right. His son's name was Chewie. He named him after Chewbacca from Star Wars. And when I got to prison, I met Mr. Jones first. Well, Mr. Jones' son was in another state prison. And one thing Louisiana prisons will try to do is put fathers and sons next to each other. Well, come to find out, Chewie was in a different prison, and Mr. Jones had put in for a family classification movement to get his child next to him. So when Mr. Jones' son, Chewie, gets to the prison that we're in, as soon as he gets to the prison, his son walks up to him. He's like, man, Chewie, I miss you, bro. And he starts petting him, and Chewie starts shaking like a dog. And he's running like, calm down, son. And he black dude. He's like, man, I'm about to bite one of these N-words. That's what he's saying. And I'm looking. I'm still young in prison. I'm like, man, this is the craziest thing I ever did see. And so Mr. Jones is trying to calm down Chewie. Now, let me tell you else what happened. The child services had tried to take Chewie and put Chewie into a different home multiple times. They tried to put him in foster care. But every single time, Chewie would leave foster care and go back to his kennel. In the backyard, they had a kennel. And he let Chewie, his own son, go in the kennel whenever he wanted. And the kennel, it wasn't like a chain. He was still a human being, but he just liked to act like a dog because he was a savage. And he had trained. When the pit bulls fought, he fought pit bulls. You ever seen that movie Bronson where he fought the dogs? Well, in New Orleans, in the Ninth Ward, Chewie was fighting pit bulls and Rottweilers.
That's how he trained to fight. He fight people too. He was a savage. He fought like a dog. You had to put him down because I've seen him fight 5 or 6 people in jail. He don't care. Guards. He fight the officers. His dad didn't even get involved. His dad will fight. Mr. Jones, but Mr. Jones was like, nah, I trained Chewy good. Chewy got this. And so I asked him one day, you just don't really talk to people because you got to watch who you're talking to. But Mr. Jones was a cool guy. I ain't never talked to Chewy, his son. He was too crazy. But I talked to Mr. Jones. And Mr. Jones told me, said, yeah, they used to put that boy up in foster care, but he'll leave foster care and always come back to the kennel. You heard me? I'm like, yeah, I heard you, Mr. Jones. He said, you know that saying, I give a dog a bone, he gonna find his way home. I said, yeah, I know that saying. So what his son Chewy would do, Chewy would literally steal money, jewelry, bank cards from his foster home and bring him to his dad. His dad's like, yeah, you get that dog that bone, he gonna come on back home. And he said, I got all kind of money, man. He said, shoot, man. He said, them fools, man, they thought they were gonna take Chewy from me, man. They couldn't stop that. I raised my son right. That boy don't know no love beside me. He don't even know the love of his mama. She walked out on him a long time ago. She was a prostitute. She left for the streets. Chewy don't even have he don't respect no woman. That's why he a savage now. He be batting them women up. I said, dang, Mr. Jones, Chewy's wild, huh? He said, man, my son wild. My son don't have no understanding. He a real savage. So that's one of the ways that I started using that word savage and begin to understand what the word savage means by talking to Mr. Jones about his son, Chewy, a.k.a. Chewbacca. I said, well, why you named him after Chewbacca? He said, man, when I first started Star Wars, man, all them white people in that movie, he said, there's one dude in there, man. I said, that's like a brother. He said, he wasn't talking about no Lando Calrissian. He was talking about Chewy. He said Chewy was a G. And he said Chewy reminded me of him of a survivor, could survive anywhere amongst all the white folks. I said, yeah. He said, that's how I named my son Chewy. He said, the only thing is, he said, that boy there, that's savage. He said, my boy, he said, he can't survive by them white people. He said, they had to put him down. I said, yeah? He said, man, look at these white folks, these guards, what they call the police in Louisiana prison, for these white folks. He said, man, they put my son down. I said, yeah, And so I'm talking to Mr. Jones. He's telling me about his son Chewy, who he brought to the veterinary. He brought his own son to get checked on the veterinary. He said when he brought his son to the veterinary, he wanted his son to get shots for worms. He said they treat him for worms. And they said, man, you can't treat this kid for no worms. He said, man, give him his worm shot. You know what I mean? Give him his rabies shot too. And the crazy part was when Chewy would fight, because he used to do that boxing too, he'd drool. And then Mr. Jones would be like, look, the state, man, they ain't got nothing but aspirin. They be giving my boy that aspirin. He said he needed rabies shots, y'all. He needed his rabies shots. And he'd come up to his dad. Every time he come up to his dad, like that, like wiggling like a dog. His whole body will wiggle like a dog. And Mr. Jones would be like, oh, Chewy, calm down. Chewy, man, calm down. Pap, he'd tap him in the head. Chewy, calm down. And so this is the type of crazy stuff you see inside Louisiana prisons. You never know what you're going to run into. And listen, this is just one of many crazy prison stories that I'm telling you, and a lot of other prison channels, they know about these stories, but a lot of people they enjoy flexing on that gangster stuff. Listen, the gangster stuff does happen, but the reality is there are some very disturbed individuals, a lot of them whom are gangsters inside the prison system. And on the Pen and The Shank, we want to cover those people as well. Throw it off, 5150, the whole 9 yards, the ones that just do the crazy stuff. Prison is full of them. I've recently talked about one of my other videos called Savage Caveman. You can go see that one. But now I'm telling you about Chewbacca, the man who thought he was a dog, and his dad, Mr. Jones, gave him up to the SPCA, not to be put down, but to be put into a foster home. He stole the people's foster homes, people's wealthy stuff, and he brought it back to his dad because his dad said, you give that dog that bone, that dog gonna find his way home. Quote, Mr. Jones. Give me a like and subscribe to the Pen and The Shank, where we talk about all things crime and prison related with an unusual and unique perspective. Let's get it!